Destroy WrestleTalk.
Soon everything will be Fakador.
Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Suspicious News. I'm Ollie Davis. We've got a Mucho Grande show for you today, including a top WWE star potentially being seriously injured, controversy surrounding the Paige biopic movie Fighting With My Family, and major changes to WWE's 2019 pay-per-view schedule. Click the timestamps in the video description below to jump to any of those stories right now. Also, press the thumbs up button, give us a subscribe to help us climb the hill to 1 million subscribers, and answer our question of the day down below. What did you think of Fighting With My Family? Because I'll be replying to people in the comments from out of nowhere. But first, professional wrestling history is full of gimmicks and characters that never made it to air. Neville being called up as Mighty Mouse on the main roster, puke! From the wrestling documentary Beyond the Mat, and mid-noughties WWE star Heidenreich being a cryogenically frozen Nazi, a gimmick reportedly suggested by the very much Jewish Paul Heyman. And now we can add another to the list, as Chris Jericho has revealed on the Rich Eisen show he was originally going to call himself something quite different.
You took the stage name of Jericho from the album Walls of Jericho from German power metal band Helloween.
True story. Yeah, I was going to call myself Jack Action, and
hold on a second. You were that was your first. So
yeah,
you'd have been Chris.
No, just Jack Action.
Okay.
First name Jack, last name Action. I thought it was going to make me $1 million, and then I told somebody that, and they were like, "You can't be Jack Action. That's stupid." I'm like, "Of course it's stupid. I would never do that. What's your name?" And I was like, and I saw the Halloween album. I said, "Chris Jericho." And
That's how it
there
happened.
You go. You could be talking to Jack Action if things had gone differently. But instead, it's just normal Chris Jericho.
We've had Lionheart, we've had the Codebreaker, we've had the Alpha. I think we're now ready for Jack Action, Galaxy Defending Archaeologist, Cowboy, and Brock Lesnar Trainer. And with all that, action money! From Jericho's deal with All Elite Wrestling, a contract he's called amongst the biggest of his career, the Tampa Bay Business Journal is reporting he's bought a $3.25 million house in the area. Enjoy these pictures of the House of Jericho, the waiting area of Jericho, the kitchen island of Jericho, and the walk-in wardrobe of action. Bad guy beating, t-shirt changing, mind control superpowered, social media influencer. The house being in Tampa means Jericho will have a second home in the Florida base of All Elite Wrestling. And he's not the only wrestling star who's bought a house in the Sunshine State. But this is a wrestling show, not MTV Cribs segue. As The Rock revealed on Instagram that he's bought a house in Florida for his dad. Rock to AEW confirmed! Rock the Dwayne Johnson's house buying funds were likely bolstered over the weekend when his latest movie, Paige here, biopic Fighting With My Family, reached #1 at the UK box office. But while the movie has been positively received by critics, one reviewer got weirdly hung up on the film not being 100% authentic. Not on how WWE is painted very favourably, or certain bits of poetic license like when The Rock gives advice to Paige and her brother. It's how thick actress Florence Pugh's legs are. Film critic Charlotte O'Sullivan, a woman herself, wrote in the Evening Standard, Florence Pugh turns out to be an effortlessly nuanced comedian with chunky thighs. Her character is based on real-world WWE champion Paige, whose legs are significantly slimmer. How cool! So many actresses offer an idealized version of real women. Pugh is changing the ideal. But some people just can't take a backhanded compliment, as Pugh reacted on Twitter. Oh dear, singling out my chunky thighs doesn't help normalizing an all shape and size Hollywood. In fact, that's part of the problem. I do hope people take more away from the film than the circumference of my hams. And Paige added, wow, I'm actually appalled this. For once, WWE is actually ahead in gender equality, with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey's intensifying blood feud on Twitter, after Ronda promised she'll be beating the living S-word out of Becky the next time she sees her, following Lynch bringing Rousey's husband, Travis Brown, into the insult flinging. WWE officials were reportedly not thrilled with the language used between the two, and some are even speculating the feud has worked itself into a shoot, brother. The remarkable thing is, currently, neither woman is actually facing each other anytime soon, with Vince McMahon replacing Lynch with Charlotte in the WrestleMania 35 main event, as Becky reminded us. Ronda meet Charlotte, Char meet Ronnie. Just thought I'd introduce you two because you're supposed to be fighting each other at WrestleMania, but all either of you talk about is me. I say talk, but mumble and shout would be more accurate. Charlotte has responded with her own reference to real-life relationships. I'll work on my Twitter game after Mania. For now, Lucha Libre training in Mexico City with my top secret trainer. Hashtag Vola Queen. Queen emoji! With a picture of her wearing a lucha mask. The fakadors run deeper than I thought. The top secret trainer Charlotte's talking about is most likely Andrade Cien Almas, as the two are reportedly dating. But while a version of Lynch vs Ronda vs Charlotte has been booked for WrestleMania for months, a lot of the card remains in flux. One reason that plans for the second biggest show of the year after WWE Fastlane Baby aren't locked down just 5 weeks out is because of the late decision to call up 4 of NXT's top stars, Ricochet, Aleister Black, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. The 4 have been working Raw, SmackDown and NXT since they debuted on the main roster 2 weeks ago, but it appears at least 2 of them will soon be leaving developmental behind, as Black posted a lengthy farewell message on Instagram saying, "It's been a ride NXT, a hell of a ride, and that it's time for the next chapter of my career." Black also cut a promo at the weekend's NXT live events, saying that him and Ricochet are leaving NXT in the very capable hands of Keith Lee, Punishment Martinez, the Bro Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream. But whether current NXT champion Ciampa will be joining them remains to be seen. Last Thursday's Wrestling Observer newsletter revealed that Tommaso has been working through an injury with the idea of taking care of it after the Gargano match at the WrestleMania weekend takeover. Shortly after, World League Wrestling announced Adam Cole, Bay, would be replacing Ciampa's special appearance for them on Sunday the 9th of March. PW Insider then reported that last Monday's Raw had to be rewritten when Ciampa wasn't medically cleared to wrestle because he's been dealing with a neck injury for at least 4 to 5 weeks, possibly longer. The Observer notes he's only actually wrestled on 5 non-TV or major streaming shows so far this year, implying WWE are using him sparingly so he can rest up. But most worryingly comes a report from WrestleZone, who add their source has said the situation looks as serious as Ciampa having spinal stenosis. It was said this came as a genuine shock, and Ciampa might be forced to have surgery on his neck. Spinal stenosis is the narrowing of the spaces within the spine, which puts pressure on the nerves that run through it. It's the condition that ultimately led to the retirement of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Sting, and Edge. But that doesn't necessarily mean Ciampa's in-ring career is over. Sheamus is still an active wrestler in WWE, despite struggling with spinal stenosis for the last year. As Dave Meltzer has previously written, Sheamus has got spinal stenosis, but a lot of guys have that. It's not a good thing to have, and it will affect him most likely when he gets older in not so great ways. It probably will shorten his career. Hopefully, Ciampa will be able to conclude his epic, years-spanning storyline feud with Gargano at NXT TakeOver New York on the 5th of April. But the TakeOver show after that will apparently be a big break from recent traditions, as the very reliable WrestleVotes claim NXT TakeOver San Jose is scheduled for Saturday the 8th of June, with no WWE pay-per-view happening the following Sunday night. This follows on from Raja revealing WWE's post-WrestleMania pay-per-view schedule has finally been decided, as only the remaining Big Four events of SummerSlam on August the 11th and Survivor Series on November 24th have been announced thus far. The dates will apparently include an international pay-per-view on May 3rd, the same date Fightful reported would be WWE's next Saudi Arabia show, Money in the Bank changing from its usual June date to May 19th, then there will be the NXT TakeOver San Jose show that WrestleVotes reported on the 8th of June. The weekend after that will see Backlash on June 16th. Weirdly, way after the WrestleMania event that traditionally gives it its rematches, Extreme Rules will take place on July 14th, meaning no Great Balls of Fire yet again. The already announced SummerSlam comes from Toronto on August 11th. Hell in a Cell will take place on September 15th. Clash of Champions on the 6th of October. Another international pay-per-view will happen in Saudi Arabia on November 1st. The already announced Survivor Series for November 25th 24th, and Tables, Ladders and Chairs will close out the year on the 15th of December. Hi, Paul. Hi guys. Hola. Hi. Could you give me and Luca a minute or two, Andy? Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Luke, I just want to have a word with you about all the masks that are everywhere at the moment.
The Jim Carrey movie?
No, just like the Mexican Lucha Libre masks. Andy's got one, he's right there. Pete's got one, Chopper, otherwise known as. Literally everyone in the surrounding area and this building is wearing a mask.
I mean, it is March, so that does just make sense.
Well, that was my first thought.
It just makes sense.
But it just feels different to last year.
Do you know what it is? Fakador wasn't working with us last March. It just makes sense.
Maybe. Just one more thing. You'll keep an eye out around here if anything else goes weird, won't you?
If I see anything that I deem suspicious, I will let you know.
Thanks, man. Okay.
Got it, boss.
I'm gonna go and host the news.
Have fun.
Apparently, some wrestling fans think Roman Reigns' leukemia diagnosis was faked by WWE. Click the video on the right to find out why that's not the case. And click the Patreon link to compete against me, Luke and Laurie in wrestling predictions for this Sunday's WWE Fastlane Baby. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.